Hello, Desmond, and welcome to the Martin Talk Show. Thank you for joining me this morning. We're here today to talk about your show that you're taking to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, The Forum.
Yes, The Forum. That's it.
So, Desmond, let's dive straight in. Tell me about this show, The Forum. Is this your own show that you've devised yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's had its seeds in different layers. Initially, I had a concept for a film going back at least like 14, 15 years ago, of some sort of an uprising, if you will. But I think, a couple of years ago, I was working with one of my writing partners, and some other ideas bloomed upon that, and then we talked about it, and then I took it in a different direction, and now, I'm making it a play. So I initially had some ideas to make it into a film with other components of it, and then that film, which was supposed to be my first feature film, which was quite an interesting introduction into the landscape of things that can go wrong in good old Hollywood. But ultimately, it kind of came back, I think, during a time when I think it's really rife for some public discourse on the madness that is what is going on in the U.S. or has been for a while.
Yes, and the world. I think the
and the world.
politics
I should
in
say that
in the
exactly.
world
in the world too. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. For sure, I think.
So give me a little bit more. I want to go back into being about a film in a moment. I'm going to put a pin in that. But I want to know a little bit more about what this story is about. It's a bit of discourse in politics. The world is a bit upside down. The world, there's lots of disagreements happening more than agreements about how this world should work and what should work best for all of us. So tell me a little bit about the story. What is going on within this play?
Yeah, so it centers on a guy named Killian Hitchens who grows up in the northeast of England. It's kind of a little bit sort of questionable where his origin is, but he's floated around a lot. Son of a military father, and lost his mother in a street crime, just an accidental crime that happened, and his father carried a lot of the onus of guilt, and basically took that out on the son and coerced him they moved and coerced him to lead a life of trying to repay that situation, and he had him go into criminology school, and from there he ends up becoming a trainee at the FBI and winds up infiltrating a right-wing, well, I should say a radical movement. It's kind of not really a right wing or not, but it's a radical movement. Some may call it a cult, but he ends up finding a home there and basically sympathizes with the group because they treat him like family. Their values are strong, and he ends up committing an extremist crime. And he is basically on trial, and sort of the premise of the piece is to involve the audience as the jurors to weigh in on the decision of this man's innocence or guilt.
Yeah, I noticed that on your poster it said "You decide."
Yeah.
So is this you're really trying to bring the audience into this story and give them a sense of control over, is this right or is this wrong?
Correct. Yeah, and I think for me, the more I delved into it, the more I explored it. A lot of it was really just exploring these notions of guilt, these notions of justice, of how we place blame. I think it's easy, especially in these days and these times we live in, to want to find something or someone to I guess project a lot of our frustrations on, and our anger and a lot of the dissent, the feelings that there's not a workable system that we all feel comfortable in. So this is kind of giving the opportunity to let that sit with an audience, and I did my best in this piece to bring as much humanity into it as I can, because I didn't want to be singular with like what they're from this group or that group, because I don't want to paint this out to be, some crazy, really sort of off the rails group. Like they have good values. I mean, to put systems with better schooling, food sovereignty, community run clinics, like different distributions of wealth where they feel like there's equanimity. So I try to make it as difficult as I can to be able to label them. So, but to show that, like, okay, there's a lot of outrage. There's a lot of I think political conflict, but sort of let the audience be involved in this forum, if you will, to have this understanding that, like, look, we're all in this together right now, and it's like, we are gonna have to work it out. And I think that's really what a lot of the crux of this piece is that, like, okay, we can start objectifying and looking out toward all the things that are wrong, but how do we settle this? How do we sort of find sort of the communication and the common language to find some resolution?
When I wonder how much of this you've taken from your own personal experience of, I assume you live in the United States?
But no, I'm actually, well, yeah, I'm in the UK now. I'm actually in Edinburgh, but yeah. I've floated around a bit. I've lived in Spain for a little bit. I was in Italy, and
are you from the United States?
Yeah, from the US. My parents.
I can hear the accent. I can hear the accent.
Go on.
I'm hearing a little bit of a mix in your accent.
Yeah,
like, I can hear that you've travelled, because it's kind of quite hard to place.
Yeah, well, I grew up in New York. And then I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles too. So I split my time between New York and LA. And then during the pandemic, I was in Europe for a little bit, and I just sort of I had to get away. I think I'd spent a good part of my life on both coasts, and I wanted to. I also did a movie that was filmed in Italy, so that brought me to Italy, and then I just fell in love with the area. And I mean, there's many things to appreciate about Italy, but yeah, and then the UK, obviously, like I said, I'm a UK citizen also, and I made a move to get back into theater, as I felt that I wanted something that just felt more interactive, that was, because I'd been working in development on quite a few projects and doing a lot of writing, and came very close to getting my third film produced. But then there's just been a lot of changes in the industry, a lot of different things happening. So I decided, like, I needed to do something now. And I have my roots in theater. I went to school for theater. I've directed theater. I've acted in theater. So I was on Broadway when I was younger. So I'm kind of, it feels good to be back. I have to say, actually, just having discussions and talking to other people, because this is what I mean. It's funny when you're younger and you have all these sort of these ideas, these insights, and these passions toward, like, your artistic endeavors. I think it takes a little bit of time to realize most of this is being able to connect with other people. Like, that's half of this. I mean, yeah, part of it is the expression and be able to say what you want to say and do that in a creative way. But it's also talking to other people that are doing similar things as you are, and having that sort of spirit of, like, connection. So it's good to be back in that place.
And I attended the Edinburgh Fringe Festival last year, and I very much got that sense from the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. A lot of people there, not just expressing what it is that they want to do, the message that they want to get across, but connecting with others and understanding each other's point of view, and understanding the kind of the community, the collective of human beings. Of who we all are, and that connection is so strong in theatre. Have you been to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival before?
First time. It'll be my first time.
This is your first time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I directed a solo show for a wonderful actress years ago that she had performed. We put it on its feet in Los Angeles at the Hollywood Fringe, and then she took it to Edinburgh. So that was sort of the closest I came, and sort of got her up and running, and she did a fabulous job. Ellen Daniels is her name, and she did a wonderful solo show called Emotional Terrorism. But yeah, so she took it to Edinburgh, and and she's been a great supporter for me as well. And so it's just nice to have that connection. But yeah, I've heard only great things, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, I mean, like I went there. I had the time of my life when I went there last year, and I feel like it's a place that I will always go back to as often as I can now that I've done it once.
Yeah.
Right, there are some. It's interesting with somewhere like Edinburgh. There are some. I did find some people that their expectations were too high, and they're expecting too much from the place. And a lot there are a lot of shows going on there. So if you're trying to bring in an audience to see your thing, it's hard work, and it doesn't always work. But I think this connection thing. I saw the people that were going out there connecting, that were talking to others, that were doing things like this, jumping on podcasts, that were connecting with people out on the streets, going to see other people's shows. Those are the people's shows that people were coming back to.
Yeah, I remember
being very much part of the community.
Yeah, I remember when I was in Los Angeles for a festival called Dances with Films, that I had my feature there, one of my films there, and it was just so nice to help promote other people and post messages about their films. And it's exciting because it's just like, and I started a podcast that I had for a little while in 2016, and that was great too, to be able to put other artists on my show at the time, because it's nice to it's one thing to be able to get your own work out there, but actually it's very gratifying to help support other artists too, and it feels nice because one, it not only does it give other people a platform, but it gets you sort of out of your own head a little bit too, and sort of makes it, I don't know, because sometimes you could become a little inundated with like, all right, I got to do this now, I got to do this, and it just becomes like it can be a little bit too I don't know, like not suffocating, but like it just becomes like you want to see other people perform well as well, and it's nice
it can be overwhelming if it all becomes about you.
Yeah.
And that's all you're concentrating. But as soon as you start giving to others, and like I say, being part of that community, part of that group, the overwhelming feeling, the pressure is relieved a hell of a lot at that moment.
Yeah, exactly, like that. I've got to ask you, because you're across the boards too. You have a lot of experience. You've put your feet into quite a few shoes there, huh? With all your creativity.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a theatre person.
Theater, yep.
Yeah, I do many different things. But I find with me that I found so much enjoyment from this connecting with others, this going into community spaces, that the whole podcasting thing, a lot of those other things I've put to one side a little bit now that I'm fully into this. But I think those things that I've done, and I still do, I'm directing a piece of theatre at the moment. In my hometown here, I live in Harlow in Essex, and nice. I run a community theatre here. And in 2 weeks' time, I'm putting on a small play. It's called Closer.
Closer.
Closer. Yeah. Made into a film as well with Julian Roberts and Clive Owen. Yeah. So in 2 weeks from now, I'm putting on a piece of theatre. So I'm very much a creative person. That's why I enjoy having these conversations with people like yourselves, because it's part of my life.
When are you going to put that up? When's the dates for that?
17th of July. So just four nights. Yeah, just coming up. So just over 2 weeks away.
It's a great piece. I love the film is fantastic. It's such a good. Yeah, I love all those psychological dramas, relationship, like love triangles and everything. Like,
yeah, and it's a real piece for the actors. There's a group of actors that I've been working closely with over the years, doing a lot of children's theatre. But I can see with them, and they do a lot of children's theatre separate to the work that they do with me.
Yeah.
That is their main thing, because that's where they can get a good income from. But I can see also that they're really good actors, and I wanted to find a piece for them that could show that could demonstrate how good of a performer they actually are, that they're not just about entertaining kids.
Yeah. What age group are they?
So they're all in their early 20s.
20s,
So young adults That's coming great. Up in the world, and like I say, for young adults, a lot of the performing work out there is in children's entertainment.
Yeah.
But like I say, I could see that they had much more to offer. So I wanted to find something that's got
great.
some drama in, that's quite
Yeah.
adult, that gives them a little bit of a push.
Did you do the casting yourself? Did you do most of the casting?
And,
Do you have help?
yeah, I do it all
Yeah.
myself. And like I know
Yeah.
these people that are in this
That's great.
current play, and
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to do it for them.
Yeah.
And again, like I'm enjoying the ride again because I'm doing it. They probably don't know I'm doing it for them, but I feel like I am. I feel like I'm doing it for others, and it's just giving
Yeah.
me pure joy from doing that,
Great.
rather than pressure and making it about just my artistic vision.
Yeah. I love work. I mean, as an actor, also, I love working with actors because it's just that energy. It's so tangible. And just to see that and to be able to help sort of realize where when you see an actor like wanting to get to that place and discover that moment and work with text. It's just it's very rewarding. So I'm happy for you as well. Yeah.
And it takes me. So when I was in my early 20s, I was just concentrating on acting. That was all I did at that point in my life. But when I look at that time, even though that's what I wanted to do, I wasn't having much fun with it. I'm only now having fun with that kind of stuff now that I've moved into directing and producing and podcasting, into those other areas where like I say, the acting felt like it was very much about me. Whereas now that it's not about me, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it more.
Yeah, it's I've also done I've had a few different roles I played. I also done some personal growth work, and on a platform called Insight Timer. They started as a meditation app, but they have so many different modalities of like different healing and personal growth work. But I was able to use a lot of that connection, and I wouldn't go so far as to say performance, but certainly the presence, maybe that's a better word, the presence of be able to be there for other people and to also speak, because I mean speaking is so much of acting, right? So to be able to use language to communicate in an effective way, I think that it definitely that sort of crossed over when I did that, and it was also a pretty gratifying experience.
So going back to Edinburgh a bit, with you mentioned your friend has been giving you some advice before you go into the space. What advice have you been given before arrival?
Well, listen, I mean, I think the common one you hear is just the flyering. Well, the two things that stand out the most is obviously the flyering, because I guess that's one of the biggest hurdles, and the second one, on the flip side of that, is also just trying to do your best to avoid burnout. Like that's the other thing I keep hearing all the time, because I mean it's very. In fact, there's some great at the Fringe Society. I've spoke to I think pretty much almost everyone there, if not everyone there now. A great group of people that have really been supportive. I've gone on all the webinars and everything. And one of the people I spoke to there said it's very easy to get FOMO at the Fringe, because you're gonna get pulled in like so many directions. You're gonna want to see every show. You're gonna hang out with everyone, and you're gonna have to sort of have a little bit of checks and balances. And I think the one, it's funny in the beginning of this this talk, you were talking about expectations, and that is actually something that I've really done my best and am doing my best to really sort of safeguard in a way, to not get too I guess too what's the right word? Too not unrealistic, but too crazy about, because I know myself, and I think every project you work on, there's a new opportunity to do things differently. I mean, of course, that's how we grow, right? And the approach I think that I'm having on this project that I'm not having on that I've had on the other ones, which is not to say it's not been a good thing, is I've been, I think, a little too sort of hyped up and over ambitious about what my expectations are, because obviously when you're on a bigger platform, when you're doing something big, when you're putting your own money into something, you're always going to want to reap the highest rewards from that, because you're taking a lot of risk, and obviously we want our visibility to grow so we can have a greater audience, so we can do bigger work and so on and so forth. But for me though, I just want to have a great performance, and I think that's it. And I obviously, of course, I spent 3 days emailing press. I'm buying pencils online to get my logo. I mean, all that stuff.
You've got to do. You've got to do the work. You've got to put the work in. If you want people to come, you've got to put the work in.
Exactly.
I think what I was seeing is a lot of a few people that looked stressed and looked burnt out. They had their head past Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
They were. Oh, if I don't make it at Edinburgh Fringe, if people don't come and see my show, if it doesn't get picked up by a TV company, or I don't make it as the next big celebrity,
right.
there is a great opportunity for that at Fringe. There is wonderful place that kind of thing does happen.
Yeah.
But if it's a numbers game, if you look at the amount of people there, it is like just the same as buying a lottery ticket. So why not buy the lottery ticket and then put it in your pocket and carry on doing the work?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is also once that time passes, that's it. You'll pick up a few reviews, or you pick up maybe some contacts, but ultimately, I really want to be present in this festival.
The fun is in the now. The being present, the being in this, being in this moment. There is so much power to that, and I think as an actor, someone that's on the stage, you understand that power of the moment.
Totally.
When you're on the stage, the lights are on you. The audience are sitting there being quiet. Every word is being processed and has weight to it. And you can really feel that. And if you can make that kind of same energy that you've got on stage last for the whole festival, then I think you'll have a great time.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's when you go to somewhere else, is when you go to, what must come of this, and start giving I want value out of this.
Yeah. Well, and I've also realized for me, and this just might be my path, and that's okay. It doesn't seem to work like that for me. Like somehow, like I have to sort of muscle out like every possible inch I gain, in whatever respective industries I'm working in. But usually, things always materialize in ways that we don't expect it. Something will happen, you'll meet someone, and then you won't hear from them for months, and then they'll call you up, or it's just that's how things work. It's like I've stopped trying to trying to choreograph my entire career. It's foolish. Like it doesn't. I think it's great to have ambitious expectations.
Plans, have ambition. Yeah, that's wonderful. Have a dream. Yeah,
of course, I'm all about that. I preach that often, but I also, I think not at the detriment of losing sort of the core goals, which is, growing as an artist, doing a solo show, memorizing 50 minutes worth of text, playing multiple characters, giving the audience a moment they'll never forget. Those are at the top of my mountain right now. Like that is really what I want to do, because that's my name out there. That's, my performance, and I want to make sure that I'm delivering. If I'm expecting people to come sit down and like listen to me for an hour, I got to give them a good show. So that's really what it's about.
So let's go back to the beginning of this show then. Now let's go back to the start. You said that this started off as an idea for a film, for a movie.
Yes.
What did that look like at that moment when that idea was born?
Yeah, so that film, it was called Changing of the Guard. It was it was to be my first feature. I sunk an enormous amount of money into it that I had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to write something about, and I actually co-wrote this with another writing partner of mine at the time, great actor by the name of Xander Bailey. And we'd sort of fashioned these ideas that we wanted sort of the everyman, the guy that just like, he was a school teacher, he was sort of disenchanted with a lot of the status quo. I think it was around 2010, 2011 I wrote it, and just I think a lot of like sort of war stuff, and I think there was it was either before or after, like during the whole Iraq thing, and it was just like a lot of sentiment that was not really coalescing, and it just it was just a lot of feeling of displacement. So this guy just wanted to sort of find what his roots were of being, being an American. And I feel like, now fast forward today, I think there's just, a lot of the play really discussed, like, what is it to be an American at this point? Like, what is it? Like, because I think American values have, some of them still are there, but, used to be just freedom and this, that, and the other. And, so now it's kind of gotten a little bit, a little diffused, a little mixed, a little conflicted. And I think, so going back the film, we got into we were about to shoot, we're 2 weeks out from shooting, and the money fell out. It was devastating because we were days from shooting, and there was a whole financial crisis. But it's all good. I learned from that, and I bounced back, and I made another film after that. But a couple films. But yeah, so that's where that started from. And then I think the recent evolution of that was about the more recent was 4 or 5 years ago. And initially I had it fashioned with this guy who became this he was like a fanatical leader, an isolate, very very like sort of like guy in Hermitage, like one of these guys that he was a soldier, ex-soldier, and he had sort of lost his way. So almost like a Colonel Kurtz, like Apocalypse Now kind of character. Mm-hmm. But kind of like one of these, just these pariahs from society. So that sort of melded into the Hitchens character. But then I wanted Hitchens to be this guy that actually didn't want to do any of this. He just wanted to be a guidance counselor. That's it. He just wanted to study psychology, help people, and be a guidance counselor. But his father's like, no, you got to, says you have to do right by this crime. You have to stop, stop criminals. You have to find a way to get inside their heads, and learn how these people think. And then anyway, so he ended up, joining a group and becoming a criminal himself by sort of, the machinations of basically joining forces with, this group that ends up going against what they feel is wrong. So that's sort of that happens. But it's kind of, a lot of it is to, it's to not take away the agency of this character, because obviously he makes decisions, he lives by them, he owns up to them, but it's to sort of meet the audience face to face and say, like, look, I'm a human, I've made errors, you can judge me, but let's have a discussion first, and let me tell you my story, let me tell you how I got here. And then now you examine the situation and you tell me, if there are things that you see, that things that you recognize, and things that, you may want to look at differently. I feel like, again, to kind of go back to what I was saying earlier, like I feel like we have to, I think we live in a time right now, which is kind of, it's a bit of a paradox. Because I think there's so much, especially with so much technology, that puts us into a state of this sort of this passiveness, right? So we have a lot of passivity, mm-hmm. but I feel like, more than ever, we have to be autonomous and take action and to be more active in our roles as far as how we want to design the world we live in. We can't just rely on other people to do it for us, which is kind of it's kind of funny, because I mean everywhere we look now, we're trying to find ways to augment situations and technology to basically do jobs for us. But I think mm-hmm. that it's an interesting time we live in, and that is, I think, something that if we don't start doing things for ourselves in a way where we have this public discourse, and I know it might sound a little bit vague here, but for me, I think it might mean something different for everyone, and I think whatever that is, like I've had to do my own inner work. And I think that if we can start to become stronger as individuals, then I think as a collective, society will be a lot better off.
So what I'm hearing from you with this like a seed of an idea that you came up with 10, 15 years ago, you've molded it and you've crafted it into something new, but yet there's still something at the core of this story which has stayed there the whole way through. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel
No,
like
you're
that
on track.
core I feel like that core is freedom. I feel like that
Yeah,
core is
yeah.
about that. You mentioned the American ideals of the past, and me being someone from the UK, again, tell me if I'm wrong, but when
No,
I looked to America and when I watched the films, when I watched the news when I was growing up, I looked to America as this place of freedom and this place of it was somewhere where the greatest expression was kind of coming from, being birthed from. But I look at it now and I see it as a place of fear. That's my obviously. Again, tell me I'm
no. I
wrong,
think
but
you're right on.
that's how I see it. I see it change from
You are
freedom to fear.
you're 100%, 100%, and I think that's where things started to go really south. In fact, that's where a lot of the sort of the genesis of this began, because I just felt there was just so much of this insidious, subversive, just ongoing fear that was basically being promoted, just being just projected and being just broadcast everywhere. And that's not the world I want to live in. And I felt like it felt wrong. It just didn't feel accurate. It didn't feel this was honest. And I feel like that, obviously fear is a great controller. I mean, it's been used so often in history
Yeah.
in many different, times and places. And there's something just very, just false about that. And yeah, and that's basically what drove me. A lot of this is I feel like this is not. You hit it right on the head. That's basically what galvanized me, because it for me feels like that it's not only manipulative, but it's dishonest, and I feel like unfortunately, there's a lot of very impressionable people that believe that, and then that obviously creates decisions that are made from that, and then you can't make good decisions out of fear. It's not that kind of fear, it's a very destructive energy. So yeah, that's basically, you're right. That's where that a lot of that came
And
from.
that fear is spreading around the world. That
Yeah.
we talk about American politics being one way and English politics another, and politics around Europe and in the East and all over the place. But it does seem to be a world dominated by fear right now. And I wonder if there is a way, as us, as the ones that are not in control, the people, if there's a way for us to get back that freedom and that hope.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think yeah, there is, and it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of, I mean, I always grew up, and maybe this is just as a child, like I always grew up curious and curious, maybe to my benefit and sometimes to my detriment, but like I've always questioned things, and I've needed like really strong supportive answers to I'll go down rabbit holes in any direction. I mean, now, I just, it's funny, as you get older, you just want things simple and straightforward. Like that's why for me, like just seeing nature and just going out, and that's why even when I was in the Mediterranean, just being by the water, like I like things that I don't have to understand. I don't have to explain them. I just see them. I know what they are. They feel right to me, and that's it. When I start having to ask myself a million questions and I start going down those rabbit holes, that's not a good sign, because that's telling me there's something that's either hidden, that's secret, that's not being that's not transparent, and you just know when you know, and I think that's to get back to what you're saying, like, and asking, yeah, I think if we can do that work, where we really just explore who we are, and when I say that, I mean, like, we've all got to go through those, and we've probably all had, at one point or another, a lot of those dark passageways where we have to clear some of the things that are not great about where we've been or what we think or where we're going or what we want to do, and do that work. And then, once you have that clarity, I think it's a lot easier to accept and to see other things in a better perspective. Because here's the thing also, like, for as bad as things look, appear, are, and feel, and are talked about, a lot of it is also your frame of mind too. I mean, yes, but like, how much of this, it's almost like a wag the, I don't know if you see the film Wag the Dog, it's kind of one of those things where it's a really great film, but just, I mean, it's about how, like, the media can, like, put, like, spins on things and everything, and just create a whole other like, world. But for me, I think it's like, things, it's kind of like a chicken and the egg thing. Like, how much is what is going on a result of what we think is happening, which is just sort of catalyzing more of these these feelings of, like, of desperation, anger and conflict. I mean, obviously there's a lot of very poor leadership going on, or I shouldn't even call it leadership. You know what I mean? I think to have good leadership, you have to be a leader. You have to lead. And I think that, like, it doesn't mean just leading for yourself. So I think that, like, as you see that, like, that is undeniable. I mean, we see atrocities, we see human rights violations. Like, it's patently obvious. But on the flip side, I think it's like, we also have to do our own work, and we also have to find our own sense of beauty in this world, so that way we can transfer that onto the next person. Because if we're constantly talking about awful things, that's it. Like, that's our world, and I even try to, like, block it out. I mean, I've got family members and people that, like, like to talk about all the stuff, and I can have a conversation for a little bit about stuff, but then I don't want to consume my whole time, like, just discussing all the bad things when there are great things too, But I mean, yeah, there's definitely, I think a lot of work has to be done, and we have to have communities are great, and that's the thing also, like, having good communities where we can have this dialogue, and you can we can create more solidarity. Because if anything, right now, the worst part about a lot of the sort of the wrongdoings that are happening in the world, and certainly I think in the States, is like, what happens is the people turn on to themselves, and that's like that's the worst thing to come about it. Like, it's like when the problem's coming from the top. You know what I mean?
So
then
we let them do what they want to do because we're too busy arguing with ourselves.
Yeah, and then it becomes like this whole internal conflict. It's like, that's not the point. It's like, so you're basically fracturing.
I feel like they're dividing us into left and right, and you're one or the other. There's no in between, and there's no meeting of the two. In fact, there is a meeting of the two. I believe it's like a full circle. Yeah. And you often see some people that go so far left that they're actually right, and so far right that they're actually left. Yeah. But the governments of the world, would like to keep us busy and angry with each other and fearful of each other. Whereas I'm seeing, and I'll go back to Edinburgh again, that's a place where there's a community of people of all different types, all different opinions, all different races, all different sexualities, all the differences. Everything. They come together and they mix, and everyone's having a great time. And we find that we're actually more alike than what some people would like to let us realize and think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think at the core of it, and I've done a bit of traveling myself. I've met people all over the world, and, like, I think people are very. People can be complex, but I think at the core, people have very simple needs, and I think you just have to keep. We have different cultures in some respects, different cuisines and religions and this, that, and the other, but, like, I think if you put people in the right setting, I think we could be very agreeable too. You know, you just have to like, it has to be under the right context. And unfortunately, a lot of this stuff is generational. A lot of it is, and it becomes deep seated, and a lot of it is a lot of, I think a lot of misinformation too. That's the thing, you know, that really struck a chord for me too. You know, going back to how a lot of this started in the very beginning, I just felt I was just very misinformed, and I felt like this is not true. And what's interesting too is when I was young, when I was in my early 20s, like I used to like, it's interesting because I used to like just feed into a lot of like, just read a lot of conspiracy stuff and this and the other, and I became very deeply entrenched in that. And then it's interesting because actually in the early 2000s, or like maybe the mid to late, you know, maybe the 2010s or so, like I started to just dial that back, and I thought, you know what, like because then I started to see like that is its own sort of cancer as well. Like it's like you have to.
I was going to say to poison. I've experienced that myself.
There's a
During COVID for me, it was a period of time where I got stuck on Twitter and I was going down rabbit holes. And whilst I was like intrigued by it and pulled by it, I was being pulled to the extent that, it was poison in my life. And I was spreading that poison to other people.
Exactly. And that's the thing is too, like you start to realize that this is actually just as bad as the things that the people are saying that are bad. Like that's just as bad, because it's like the energy is dark, and it's like, so you feel like you're getting some sort of educational insight into something, but then you come offline and you walk and you're like, ooh, I don't feel good. I feel awful. And like that's
or you can't sleep, and and you're not interacting with people in the right way, you know.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, like you're having a conversation with people and you go too deep into things that rather than enjoying the moment, you're stressing everyone out, worrying about the end of the world that isn't even happening yet. You know, we're all actually quite fine right now, aren't we? In this moment.
Exactly. So that's why I think, go on.
Yeah, so all some of this stuff that we do, we have to be careful that whilst we're concerned about the world, the big picture, that we don't sour our experience in the world that we actually live right here and right now, and the people that we're with.
Well, yeah, exactly. And to kind of hinge off that, like it can also be very, very debilitating to allow that to, because there's a certain sort of law of diminishing returns where you don't want to be ignorant. You want to have some sort of grasp on what's happening around you, whether you're getting your information from the internet or intuition or whatever it is. But then there comes a point where you can't let it take you over, because then you're basically crippling yourself from being sort of autonomous, and it strips your individuality, because then you start, you don't become like a sovereign, like fully fleshed being, and you start to think, oh gosh, well, if that's happening or this can happen, then I don't have control. And I think this is the biggest thing also, and this is one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life, is this sense of surrender. And I talk about this in the play. In fact, there's a few lines where Hitchens says this, and he talks about surrender. He goes, that's what they told us, all of us, each in their own way. Like that's basically what he says, because that for me is so important, because so much of, I think, what people do, how people react, or where things go wrong, is this sense of control. Because if you think what power is control, right? I mean, so it's just control. Control in many ways, it's an illusion. There is sort of some sense of control. I mean, there's here and there's here. If you have your full agency of this, that's it. Like no one can control you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, I wonder if actors get a good sense of this. Again, going back to that feeling, that thing on stage, that you do all this work before you put a performance on, before you enter the theatre, before you enter the stage. But once you're in the space, the only way it's ever going to work is if you surrender, is
Oh
if
my
you let
gosh, yeah.
yourself be free, is if you just go. Like I say, you've put in the work, but
Yeah.
that moment of being on the stage, you can't do it by numbers. You can't control the outcome. You can't control if another actor forgets a line or you miss a lighting cue or something. You have no control over that at all. So you just have to surrender to the process of theatre. But I think that we can take that into our lives, can't we? We can take that into every day. That every day, yeah, you can't control your family, your kids, what your best friend does. You can't control what the government does. So if we surrender to it, then we'll feel more free.
Yeah, feel more free and feels it's the ultimate.
And it's actually more power, I think, as well. You'll feel more
Absolutely.
power.
I mean, surrender is one of the greatest. It's the greatest senses of courage. I mean, to surrender is basically is one of the highest forms of faith, because you know when I used to live in Malibu, I used to go into the water every night, late at night, and just sort of just float in the water in the dark, and I sort of gave myself over to the currents. I mean, I try to find that fine line of, like, doing, not trying to put myself in extreme danger, but I had to start to believe in the world, and in fact there were moments because I knew I lacked it, so I had to train myself. So I was like, all right, what can I do to do that? It sounds kind of silly, but I would sometimes I would go to a parking lot, and when I go shopping, I would leave my door unlocked, and I would just leave it unlocked, and I leave the keys like on the dash or on the console. I mean, I got for like half an hour, but because I wanted, the probability that you talk about, the lottery scratch off tickets, like the probability of probably getting my car stolen, probably low. But there's always that out there, and obviously, I mean, different areas. I mean, you'd have a higher probability if your car is parked. But like, I wanted to train myself to not be fearful of things happening that I felt like are unrealistic fears, and it just taught me. Or I'd swim really far out to the buoys, like in some of the different beaches. I mean, it was terrifying at some points, because I mean, I was out in the middle of the ocean, and I would swim back, and then the thing is like, oh, there's sharks or this or that, whatever, and like, but then I started to panic, and there's one point I started like, you're not going to make it back if you panic. So I had to just relax and just go on my back and get back to shore like that, because I think, the fears, going back to the fear thing, fear and control are they're huge byproducts of each other. And I think that being able to have that faith, have that ability to calm, whether it's breathing, meditation, mantras, whatever it is that helps put you in that place, like that's something I had to really ground myself with. And lastly, the thing about the whole thing is, going on stage and everything, and how that feeds into my life as an artist. Like, this is the first time, I have to say, in my career, that I'm just, I'm just giving over to the universe. Like, it's like, talk about, let's say a leopard doesn't change its spots, or whatever the expression is. Like, and it's been the weirdest thing to do, because
You're in the same. I feel
so
like we're
weird.
meeting at a point in our life where what you're saying to me right now, what you're telling me about your journey. I'm in a very similar
Really?
space. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried for so long to
Yeah.
control my career.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried hard every day. Like,
Yeah.
I look back on my 20s and early 30s, and I worked so hard.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure.
I really did, and I
Yeah.
think there's something from that. I don't think
Of
that
course.
hard work was a waste, but I didn't enjoy much of it, and
Yeah.
it hasn't got me anywhere. And it wasn't till I had a moment of just going, I need to stop now. I literally cannot carry on with this.
Mm.
And I took a pause. I would say there was a good 3 to 4 months where I pretty much did nothing and had no idea who I
Mm-hmm.
was. But
Mm-hmm.
then when I came out of that and I felt that surrender to the process, that yes, I'm still going to be a creative person and do
Mm-hmm.
creative things,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not looking to control and manipulate the outcome anymore. I'm not trying to look for this must happen from this, that there must be, and I pull that aside and just enjoy the process. And
Mm.
it sounds really cheesy, but
Mm.
just enjoying the journey
Mm-hmm.
wasn't happening because I was looking too far at the horizon.
Mm.
I was looking too far ahead all the time, and it always had to
Yeah.
be for a reason. Whereas now the reason is the work, is the moment,
Yeah.
is the right now me and you meeting and having
Yeah.
this conversation and
Yeah.
meeting someone at a similar part of the
Yeah.
journey and going, oh wow, like I'm not completely delusional. This does make sense.
Yeah. Well, you get to you. That happened to me. I had a huge epiphany when I was also in Malibu, and I was in my car at a stoplight on PCH, and it all just flashed because I was very fortunate. I was younger. I was a late teen. I was rep at a great agency, and I did a play on Broadway. I did a feature film when I was like 18 years old, and things were great. I was going to film school at the time, so it's just like all these things sort of converged and were just happening for me, and then things changed very drastically. But I realized, as an older man, when I was in my car at that moment in California, I realized that I've been living my life to meet those expectations, to constantly try to be this person that I had no idea who was. Like, it was just like I wasn't. It didn't matter, who I was, because I neglected that person. I had to get this success. I had to be this thing. I knew I could do this. I'm this. I'm that. And I realized I'd actually been depriving myself of knowing who I was, just as like a boring, simple person that just goes, trail running and goes into the ocean. That's it. It was at that moment I realized, and I also stopped for 3 months. I just didn't do anything. I just made food, meditated, went in the ocean, ran, and worked out, whatever. And the beauty of that is I got to reclaim my life. In fact, what I did, I talked about this in my book. I wrote a book called Freedom from Failure, which is a lot about my failures and my ambition and everything, and how it actually crushed me. And maybe it's a whole thing. I made decisions that were probably not the most sound, but anyway. But the point I'm trying to make with this was I reclaimed my life, and I got to love and appreciate who I was without the trappings of the artist, the actor, the director, the writer, the producer, the creator, any of that stuff, and just exist. And in a way, and it sounds kind of a little radical, but like, I actually killed my dreams. I literally put a knife in them and I destroyed them. And I said that I'm going to, as an actor, leave this moment that I will never have this ever. And I killed them. And I said to myself, like, and I know it sounds violent, but I had to literally destroy them because they were destroying me. And I had to stop at that moment, love myself, and say, I'm okay if that never happens the rest of my life. And then gradually, because it's hard to destroy the artist. After a couple months, 3 months, 3.5 months, I sort of integrated into my life, and I said, all right, I'm going to get the script done. I met a guy who was going to get this film produced. I read his book, and I did it, though, on my terms. And I said, this is not because I have to do it. It's because I want to do it. And I got the film produced. It took like 18 months. But it re-scripted my life and gave me the opportunity to approach a career without this desperation, without this feeling like, if I don't do it, I'm nothing. And it just gave me another opportunity. And, as life happens, the minute you reach one stratum, one layer, then you get hit with the next challenge. And then the next thing was just like, being a nomad for so many years and not really knowing what anything is. So I've had to face that. But I'm at a good place now because I feel like I've got nothing for me. I've got nothing to prove. Nothing. I know what my goal is. I know I've got a lot to perform and to prove in that respect. But I feel like I've done most of the things that I want to do in my life, and this is like, this feels amazing. Obviously, I have to get through this month and a half. You know what I mean? And that's going to be amazing. But once I believe I'm going to, accomplish this very well. I mean, I'm super nervous. Absolutely nervous.
But the nerves help.
You know what I mean?
Nerves are the. Yeah, I believe the nerves are the fuel. I
Super
believe
nervous.
that. Yeah, but those it depends how we process those
Of
nerves.
course.
I think the nerves of fear and the nerves from excitement
Absolutely.
are actually exactly the same feeling.
They are, right?
So for me, that I remember the last time that I went on stage was about 2 years ago now, and I was incredibly nervous. I did this thing; it was a play in a day. So in the morning, I was given the script, and by the evening, I had to perform that in front of an audience. And
Wow.
I was absolutely terrified. I was like, I am so, like, this morning I had no idea what I was going to be stepping out onto the stage doing. And I was like, why did I sign up for this?
Right,
This is
mental.
this is madness. And there was a point where I phoned up a friend and I was like, I think I'm going to run. I think I am actually going to jump on that because the audience don't know me. None of the cast knew me. Like, I was completely separate. I was like, I could just run away.
Yeah.
I'm an adult, but I felt like running away. But then I came to this conclusion that this feeling that I'm having right now, I've just got to change my mindset about what it is. That this is excitement. It isn't fear.
It's excitement, exactly. Much like fear, I like to talk about fear is fear is sort of is an energy you can use to your benefit, because it's like it creates more courage. You need fear. Fear is the catalyst that creates the courage. Without fear, you wouldn't have courage, right? So it's the same with the nervousness. Like, that's definitely something that I'm gonna have to. But it's funny because I laugh at myself when I think, like, it's the first time I've been on stage in like 30 years, and of course I'm doing a solo show, playing 13 characters, multiple accents. I'm picking pretty edgy material. So it's like, of course, I've given myself one of the hardest things to do. Like, but if I'm gonna, that's how I am though. I just want to go all in, and I feel like for me, like, if I'm gonna do it, if I'm gonna take the plunge, if I want to, sort of reacclimate, to theater, then listen, and where else to do it but in Edinburgh? What better place? I mean, what a platform.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to coming to see this show. Where is it on exactly? Dates?
Absolutely. So July 30th and 31st, the two previews, and then it runs to the 24th of August. It's going to be at the Roman Eagle Lodge, which is 2 Johnston Terrace, and that's over at the Aquila Studio from Sea Arts. And you can get the tickets on the Fringe office, and it's the Forum, and 50 minutes at 5:30 every day. So I'll be there.
Every day. Are you planning in moments to look after yourself to avoid burnout?
I'm going to. I have to. I mean, fortunately, I'm living here now, so it's good. I'm in Edinburgh, and actually, I'm living a little bit further out off the grid, so at least I can sort of have some separation.
You can separate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great little park where I'm at, and I can, I can sort of just tune down everything. But I know once I'll get there, I'll be meeting a lot of people, and I certainly want to see a lot of other shows as well. But definitely, I think the good thing is that I prepared for this. So hopefully, once I get there, I could just have fun and see how the audience feels, and that'll be everything I need.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And like I say, I look forward to seeing your show. Maybe we'll do a catch up while we're there.
That'll be amazing. Yeah,
we'll see how you're getting on. Perhaps I don't know the dates that I'm going to be there yet, but I'm assuming probably halfway through. So we'll come and see how you're getting on. Come and see what the show was like. And
beautiful. I want to ask you: are you going to bring Jake? You going to bring Jake or no?
It depends. So at the moment, I'm doing some crowdfunding. So I hope to bring Jake.
Yeah,
and I appreciate the first person that's donated in. Listen, so I really do appreciate that.
I've been there too.
So money is the fuel. Without that, I do most of what I do with the podcast is for free. And I enjoy doing it. The crowdfunding got me there last year, where my previous guests has all donated into getting me there. So I hope to do the same again this year. And maybe even find a small venue where I've got a corner where people can come and join me, rather than me having to sit in the streets and record I think I recorded one episode in just outside a block of toilets, because that was the only space that I could get. So this year I'd like to find something a little bit more suitable.
I watched one of your interviews though. It was kind of cool. You did like a walk and talk up some of the staircases and everything.
Yes, we literally couldn't find anywhere to sit.
That's cool, though. You get to see the whole landscape.
Exactly, and so things can come of that. A little bit of magic I felt came of that moment where we were walking around trying to find a place to sit down, but then we were like, that conversation's so great while we're walking. Let's not just record this.
Yeah, it's active.
We'll see what comes of it.
Well, I will definitely spread the word for sure.
Wonderful, and I'll be sharing your show as well. And
thanks, Martin.
I'll add all the relevant links into the comment section of the podcast.
Beautiful. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks again, Desmond.
Yeah, thank you so much, Martin.
And if anyone has been watching or listening, thank you for joining us for this conversation. Thank you. Bye-bye.